Thread I found out the child isn't mine. But I still love her. Part 1. Before everything changed. I read it. Throwaway account because people in my life know my main. I don't really know where to start, so I'll just start. I'm 33. Married to my wife, Erin, 31, for 7 years. We have a daughter, Lily, who just turned 5. She's the brightest, funniest, most curious little human I've ever met. The kind of kid who stops you in your tracks with questions like, "Do clouds sleep?" Or, "If the moon is up in the sky, who holds it there?" She's my whole world. I used to think this was the perfect little life. And in a lot of ways, it was. Until a few months ago. But before I get to that, I need to tell you how we got here. Meeting Erin. We met in college. I was that nerdy guy who worked at the campus IT help desk. She was in the art department, the one who'd walk in barefoot sometimes, smelling faintly of turpentine, and somehow made it look like a choice straight out of a fashion shoot. She came in one day because her laptop was making a weird noise. Spoiler, she'd shoved a paintbrush into the fan vent without realizing. We clicked instantly. She laughed at my dumb jokes. I listened to her talk about color palettes like they were poetry. We started dating in sophomore year, moved in together after graduation, got married 3 years later. I thought we were one of those rare couples who'd never have to try too hard. It just worked. Lily's arrival. Lily wasn't exactly planned, but we weren't not planning either. Erin got pregnant 2 years into our marriage. I remember the moment she told me. She came into the kitchen holding this little white stick, eyes wide, mouth trembling. I hugged her so hard we almost fell over. We painted the spare room yellow because we didn't want to know the gender ahead of time. The day Lily was born was the happiest day of my life. I know people say that all the time, but I swear my chest physically hurt from how much love I felt. I cut the cord. I held her first. I told her she was perfect. And for the next 5 years, I've been dad. Changing diapers at 3 a.m., reading Goodnight Moon, until I had it memorized, teaching her how to ride a bike, watching Frozen, until I could recite every single line. I never once thought of her as anything but mine. The first seed of doubt. It happened in the most random way possible. We were at my cousin's barbecue last summer. Lily was playing with the other kids. My cousin's wife, Jenna, looked at me and said, "It's crazy. She doesn't look anything like you. She's basically a mini Erin." I laughed it off. I'd heard it before. Lily's got Erin's hair, Erin's eyes, Erin's smile. But later that night, I caught myself looking at old baby photos of me, then of Lily. Not even the same nose. Not even close. I told myself it was just genetics being weird. Happens all the time. Still, something stuck in my head. Like a splinter. The test. Fast forward to 3 months ago. I was cleaning the garage and found an old 23andMe kit I'd never used. Erin had gotten it for me as a birthday gift 2 years ago. I'd shrugged it off at the time. But now, with that stupid splinter in my head, I thought, why not? Mostly for the ancestry stuff. Maybe a little for peace of mind. I spit in the tube, mailed it off, and didn't think much about it. 2 weeks later, the results came in. I was scrolling through the report when I saw the relatives section. I expected to see a match for Lily. They do a close family flag if you're a parent. There was nothing. I checked again. Searched her name. Nothing. My stomach dropped. I told myself it was probably a database thing. Maybe she hadn't done hers. Except I remembered Erin telling me she'd sent one for Lily last year. For fun. So I dug into the raw data. And there it was. No shared DNA. 0. I can't explain the feeling. It wasn't just shock. It was like my entire body went cold and hot at the same time. My brain was trying to do math it didn't want to do. Confrontation. That night, after Lily went to bed, I told Erin I needed to talk. She could tell something was wrong. I just blurted it out. Lily isn't mine. At first, she didn't say anything. Just stared. Then she said, What are you talking about? I told her about the test. How I'd seen the results. How there was no way it was wrong. And I swear, I watched the blood drain from her face. She started crying, whispering, I'm so sorry. I never meant. And then she told me, 5 years ago when we were on a break for 2 weeks after a huge fight, I'd forgotten about it. Honestly, she'd slept with someone else. Just once. She swore she thought Lily was mine. She never checked. She said she was scared to tell me once she found out she was pregnant because she didn't want me to leave. I didn't yell. I didn't even cry at first. I just sat there, staring at the wall, while she begged me to say something. The spiral. The next few days were a blur. I went to work, came home, did the bedtime routine, and then just sat in the dark after everyone was asleep. I couldn't even look at Erin without feeling this mix of rage, sadness, and confusion. But when I looked at Lily, nothing changed. She'd still run into my arms yelling, Daddy! She'd still tell me she loved me before bed. And that's when the real pain hit, because I realized I wasn't angry at her. I could never be. I was angry at the fact that my entire reality had been rewritten without my permission. The decision I couldn't avoid. About a week later, Erin asked me if I wanted to take time apart. I think she expected me to say yes. Instead, I told her I needed time to think, but I wasn't leaving Lily. No matter what. She cried again. I think part of her was relieved. But the trust between us? It was cracked, maybe broken. Where this leaves me. Here's the thing, Reddit. I don't know what to do. I love that kid more than anything. She's my daughter in every way that matters, except biology. But every time I think about the truth, it's like this shadow hanging over us. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive Erin. I don't know if I should try. And tomorrow, I'm meeting the man who's her biological father. To be continued in part 2. Yeah, he's still in town. And he wants to talk. Thread I found out the child isn't mine. But I still love her. Part 2, The Other Man. When I told you in part 1 that I was meeting Lily's biological father, I didn't mean sometime in the vague future. I meant tomorrow. As in the next day after I wrote that post. His name's Mark. That's all I knew when Erin told me. I didn't recognize it at first, but when she showed me his Facebook, it all came rushing back. He was that guy. You know the type. The charming, slightly older dude who hung around college parties even though he graduated years before. He had this easy smile, a guitar permanently slung over his shoulder, and a way of making every conversation feel like you were the only person in the room. I'd hated him on sight back then, but I never had a concrete reason. Now I did. Setting the meeting. Erin didn't ask if I wanted to meet him. She just told me he'd reached out after she told him the truth, that Lily might be his. Apparently she'd messaged him a week after I found out, and he replied almost immediately. I think it's important you meet, she said, twisting her wedding ring. He wants to talk about the future. The future. Like we were business partners, and Lily was a startup. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. But I agreed. Not because I wanted to meet him, but because the idea of some stranger walking into my daughter's life, without me, there made me physically sick. The cafe. We picked a neutral spot. A cafe downtown with big windows and too much sunlight. Erin offered to come, but I told her no. This needed to be between him and me. I got there early, sat at a corner table. My coffee went cold before he even arrived. And when he did, well, let's just say time hadn't exactly humbled him. Leather jacket, sunglasses indoors, that same easy smile. "Hey, man," he said, like we were catching up after a fantasy football season. He stuck out his hand. I shook it because my mom didn't raise me to be rude, but it felt like gripping a snake. Small talk turned sharp. We did the awkward dance for a few minutes. Weather, traffic. Then he leaned forward and said, "So, Lily, she's mine?" "No," I said. "She's mine. Biologically? Maybe. But she's my daughter." That wiped the smirk off his face for a second. Then he shrugged. "Look, I just want to be involved. I missed the first 5 years. I don't want to miss more." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Involved? Like this was some after-school hobby he just remembered? He asked. Then he said it. "I think we should do a paternity test. Just to be sure. And if it's positive, I want visitation." That's when I realized this wasn't about being involved. This was about claiming something. About staking territory. I told him we could talk after the test, if it came to that. But I also told him that Lily didn't know, and I wasn't about to drop a DNA bomb into her world just because he'd suddenly decided to play dad. His jaw tightened. "You don't get to decide that." I leaned in. "Watch me." Leaving the cafe. We ended it there. No yelling. Just a cold, heavy silence. He walked out first. I stayed behind, staring at the empty chair across from me, wondering how the hell my life had turned into a bad soap opera. Back home. When I got home, Lily ran up and hugged me like she always does. I swear, in that moment, nothing else mattered. She's mine. No piece of paper or genetic code could change that. But Erin was pacing in the kitchen. "How did it go?" I told her. All of it. She sat down, head in her hands. "I was afraid of this," she said. Afraid of what? That the man she slept with once might actually want to be in Lily's life? Or that I wouldn't be able to stop him? The sleepless night. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes I saw him, sitting across from me, smiling like he'd already won something. And I realized this wasn't just about Lily. This was about control. About who gets to define family. The paper in the mail. 2 weeks later, a letter came. I thought it was junk at first. But when I opened it, my hand started shaking. It was from a lawyer. Mark's lawyer. He was filing for a court-ordered paternity test. Where this leaves me again. Now I'm here. Waiting. The test date is set. Erin says she'll support whatever I decide, but I don't think she understands. This isn't just my decision anymore. If the test comes back positive, the law might give him rights. He could take Lily on weekends. He could be in her life whether I want him there or not. And the worst part? I don't know how Lily will react. She's 5. She still believes in the tooth fairy. How do you explain to a kid that the man she calls daddy might not be her real dad? Next week, we swab cheeks and send off samples. I'll know the results in a month. I've never dreaded mail so much in my life. To be continued in part 3. And yeah, Erin just told me something else about Mark. Something that changes everything. Thread I found out the child isn't mine. But I still love her. Part 3, the results. When I left you last time, I was waiting for the paternity test. That month felt like the longest of my life. You'd think I'd spend every waking moment obsessing over the results. But weirdly, my brain split in two. Part of me was living day-to-day life, making Lily's lunch, reading bedtime stories, walking her to preschool. The other part was in a constant low-level panic, like a phone running 1% battery with no charger in sight. The thing Aaron told me. Before I dive into the results, I need to tell you the thing Aaron dropped on me at the end of part 2. We were sitting at the kitchen table after Lily went to bed. Aaron looked like she'd been chewing on her lip all day. "There's something I didn't mention," she said. I braced myself. "Mark, he knew about me being married when it happened. He thought it was just fun." I asked the obvious question. "And you thought it was what?" She stared at her hands. "I thought it didn't matter. You and I were in a rough patch. I didn't think it would stick." Didn't think it would stick. Like my family was a post-it note she could peel off and reattach later. The day of the test. The clinic was sterile and quiet. They swabbed my cheek first. Then Mark's. Erin didn't come. I didn't want her there. Mark tried small talk in the waiting area. I ignored him. I wasn't going to play friendly when every instinct told me this man was about to bulldoze into my life. The waiting game. After that, it was back to waiting. And here's the thing about waiting for news you don't want. Every day feels like it could be the one that changes your life. I started avoiding the mailbox. I asked Erin to check it instead. But when the envelope finally came, she wasn't home. The results? I sat at the kitchen counter, the envelope in front of me like a loaded gun. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. When I finally tore it open, my eyes scanned for one number. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. It hit me like a punch. I'd told myself I was prepared for either result. I wasn't. Telling Erin. Erin came home to find me sitting in the same spot, paper on the counter. She read it, said nothing for a long time. Then, "I'm sorry." The words barely registered. "What now?" Mark texted me that night. "Guess we'll have to work out a schedule. I'm looking forward to getting to know my daughter." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "She's my daughter too. Don't forget that." Talking to Lily. This was the part one dreaded most. I didn't want to confuse her, but I also didn't want her to hear it from anyone else. We sat on her bed. She had her stuffed bunny in her lap. I told her that there was another man who helped make her, but that I was still her dad and always would be. She tilted her head. "Do I still get pancakes on Saturdays?" I laughed, even though my chest hurt. "Always." Co-parenting with a stranger. The first meeting between Mark and Lily happened in a park. She was shy at first, clinging to my leg. He brought her a little toy guitar. I stood a few feet away watching. It felt like handing over a piece of my heart to someone I didn't trust. Months later. It's been 6 months since the results. Mark sees Lily every other weekend. I still tuck her in most nights. We still have Saturday pancakes. Do I hate it? Sometimes. Do I hate him? Definitely. But Lily laughs more these days, and I can't bring myself to take that away from her. Why I'm writing this? People keep asking if I regret loving her all these years. If I feel cheated? I tell them the truth. Biology doesn't raise a child. Love does. And if I had to choose all over again, I'd still pick her. Every time. Last night, as I was turning off her light, she said, "I love you, Daddy." And it was the easiest thing in the world to say back. "I love you too, Bug." No piece of paper can take that away. The end.